It's only been a few days since the release of the Theta Tau video. I'm Taylor Lang. I'm here with Student Association President James Franco and Vice President Angie Pati to talk about some of the things on students' minds. Thanks for coming today.
And I'm here with Student Association Vice President-elect Kyle Rosenblum. Thanks so much for being with us here, Kyle.
Thank you for having me.
So what were your initial reactions to the video?
Well, I think it's really hard to put into words. I mean, it's appalling to see anyone act in that way, and whether you think it's funny or not, it's totally against who I think we are and who I think our community is. But truly it was something horrendous.
Yeah, I mean, building off of that, it's absolutely heartbreaking. As a woman of color on this campus, to be able to see that, as a leader who is a woman of color, to see that among your peers, people that you might be sitting in class next to, is really sad, but it's also very important to note that we know it's present. This was just a video that showcased it in how evident it was, and that it's happening behind closed doors. And I think the reason we're so hurt about it is because it really hits home when you actually see it, as opposed to kind of just pushing it under the rug, knowing that there are systemic issues and inequity on campus, but being able to see it firsthand and experience it and being called out specifically for who you are in a really hurtful way is kind of just, it kind of just hits you right in the gut.
And first off, just tell me what your initial reactions were when you saw the Theta Tau video.
I mean, initially I was just absolutely disgusted at just the fact that that happened on our campus. And I think that it was a group of people, a group of Syracuse students were degrading and dehumanizing people that sit next to them in classes and people that they walk around campus with and people that are supposed to be connected as one university, one campus, one student body, and just to see a complete disregard for the lives and well-being of other students was just absolutely horrific.
And for a lot of people, this university is like a second home or even a first home to them. And a lot of times they, spend those times with staff members, and a lot of the deans and other dorms and things like that sent out emails. A lot of the student protesters saying that they seemed kind of cookie cutter or they weren't causing enough action.
Yeah.
How did you guys feel with the videos and or with the emails?
Yeah, so I think some of the emails did have some concrete steps in them. I think it's going to be follow through. I'm happy it's in writing, but some of the emails I think were really vague. I think students don't want to see emails anymore. I think some of the forums that were held by schools, not just having a forum, but having physical presence of some of the members of our community, because it's not just students who make up our community, it's not just administrators, it's faculty as well. So within these schools, if anyone heard or went to the Hendricks meetings, I mean, all across the board, we're different ways we can introspectively look at every part of campus and improve ourselves going forward.
Yeah, and I think it's important to look at the emails as a very, very small first step and not the only step, and just an acknowledgement of the issue that we already know we're having, but by no means a solution to a very multifaceted problem. And I think that's the thing, is like, if we ever got an email from an administrator about this and that was the only thing that happened, then the outrage is justified. And exactly what James said, like, what are those concrete, actionable goals coming from those emails? Because that's what we should be focusing on. It's not the solution.
And do you think the university did the right thing by not releasing that video?
I do think that there was a lot of legal issues with their decision to not release the video, and I think that they were following those legal decisions, and I think that that's why they didn't release it, so I do think that that was the right thing.
And so one of the other steps they're taking is holding community meetings and public forums to talk about in a safe space some of the things that students want to get done or some of the injustices that students feel. Do you think these community gatherings, do you think that something good is going to come out of them?
Yeah, I mean, I think that, again, it's the first step. It's really important for people to feel heard and be heard, because for a long time they haven't been. You have people who, have intersectional identities that are the most marginalized of the marginalized speaking up, finally. People who were considering transferring tomorrow that are able to hold a mic in Hendricks and say, I'm done with this. And so at these community meetings, it's really important that they're given this voice. But what we think from these, so in that way, it's super, super, very effective. But what we want is actionable goals that will keep that student here. It's one thing to be heard, but it's another thing for them to stay another day, another year, finish their program, and feel like they were part of the community.
And I think, too, I mean, when you talk about these forums, it has to, like we just talked about, it can't just be preaching to the choir, so to say. I mean, it's valuable to have certain groups of communities that are able to tell their stories, but also people who have privilege, like maybe a white male who can actually hear it and use that to take action. And also, like I said, I mean, I think the administrators who have been semi-accessible to now, I think they're improving on that, but also all the other members of our community who are a part of our community, from staff to faculty as well.
Yeah. The importance of presence of allies is important, and then also acknowledging and kind of holding hands with the allies is really important as well, because they can pull you up. If the people of power, the people you're protesting, that's excellent, but then at a certain step to work towards progress, we're going to have to collaborate.
And do you think these community meetings that are taking place, and even the open forum on Monday, do you think those things will make a difference?
I think that they are the start of change. I think it's really important to have these forums because students haven't felt heard. They haven't felt like the administration has been listening to them, and these forums are giving them a platform and an opportunity to use their voices. And it's also there's a lot of students that are walking around on campus with, they're experiencing microaggressions and they're experiencing discrimination and ignorance every day, and they don't have an outlet to be able to express that. And I think that you saw at Hendrix, you saw these students outpouring their emotions and how they felt and what was going on through their lives. And there's a lot of students in that room that I don't think knew that was going on. I think that it was important to show what was happening on campus, and I think that that evidence of what's going on is going to spark the change that's needed to kind of address these issues.
Mm-hmm. And so you talked about being able to be open and having times to be accessible. Are you guys or the Student Association, are you guys having any more times where students or faculty can come in and have access to you guys to talk about some of these grievances that they have?
Yeah, I mean, the Student Association office, the assembly members just made this Google Doc where they'll be in the Student Association office, which is in Shine, at pretty much every hour of the day if students want to come in and voice concerns. Also, if you reach out to James and I, our emails are all over the place. We'll go out of our way to make time for you, and no matter who it is or what it is or whatever they want to talk about, any hour of the day. I mean, that's what we exist for.
Then also the forum Monday, I think, so Student Association was planning a forum already before Wednesday to kind of talk about different student leaders around campus. I think it's getting tweaked a little bit to within recent events, and obviously that probably will be to some degree at least related to it, a lot of the grievances or things that came to light because of that video. So we're excited to, or not, happy to provide that in other space, but like Angie said, not just that on that one night, organically throughout the rest of the year.
Yeah, we're here as a resource throughout everything.
And one of those big problems that people have been talking about is diversity on our campus. So how does the Student Association represent diversity at SU?
Well, we definitely are pushing a lot of initiatives and a lot of different actions to address diversity and to increase it on campus, making sure that there's been a lot of cuts to scholarships that increase diversity on campus, and that's something that the Students Association is kind of pushing back against and looking at, with the tuition increases, how is that going to make it less affordable for students of different socioeconomic statuses, and how are the different changes going on within the university going to affect what kind of students are drawn to this school. So I think that the Student Association plays a huge role in kind of examining the impact of university decisions on the diversity that is at Syracuse and that will be at Syracuse.
And so a lot of the student protesters and the people who are a part of the hashtag Recognize Us SU movement, they have been saying that this is just the beginning. So while we do have, just a little bit of time left in this semester, do you see this moving forward, carrying through the summer into the next, school year as time goes on? I
think it definitely is going to depend upon, I think it will, I think this is something that should live on, and certain definitely aspects of it, some concrete goals should be things that live on. And I think to the degree it lives on, though, in terms of the emotion behind it will depend upon the university's actions. If we get 2 weeks from now and the university looks like it's taking concrete steps, real action, instead of just pushing it off to the summer, then hoping people forget by the time we get back to the fall, then you will get the same kind of anger, justifiable anger when we get back. If we instead get real action, things that we can say, well, when we come back, we are going to pick up the conversation. Over the summer, there will be some things going on that we can touch base with. I think that's going to depend upon what the administration does in these next couple of weeks.
Yeah, I think the conversation has to continue. I don't think there's an option. If there's an option, then I think there's something seriously wrong with our university. And as a person who loves the university dearly, I hope that's not the case. But when you have groups and groups of students telling themselves and telling others that they don't feel welcome on campus, it's a really important time to be introspective. But exactly what James said, I mean, the Chancellor has outlined some from the call to action and from other student leaders and students, which I think is really important. Just students in our campus community voicing grievances has talked about, you know, looking at what our Greek life practices are, and overhaul of the first year forum program, making bias training mandatory, like those types of things. We need to see them into fruition because those are the things that can really create culture change on campus. So I don't think that it even should be a question of will this continue. I think it's pretty much there should be no option.
And what do you think the university will do concerning the Recognize Us SU movement that started?
I don't know what they will do, but I do hope that they recognize it, because that is so critical to be able to understand the concerns of the students, because they can, you know, they're at the forum and they're saying that they were listening to the students and they heard the students' concerns, but it's one thing to say that and another thing to show it. And I think that by viewing the Recognize Us movement as a legitimate movement and by addressing the concerns of this movement, I think that's what's actually giving legitimacy to them saying that they're listening to the students. It's showing that they truly are listening to the students and that they will make the changes that this movement is asking and demanding for.
And so the hashtag Recognize Us SU movement, they're actually asking, and they asked Chancellor Kent Syverud today when he was actually at the Shine Student Center to take some sort of concrete action to show he cares by Wednesday at 11:59 p.m. Do you think something concrete might come out of this at that fast? We know legal things are involved and different investigations are still ongoing, but do you think something concrete could happen by that time?
I think so. I think it started yesterday, I think, with some of those calls to action. Instead of actually instituting some of these, I think they're trying to, the investigation itself, trying to work through to a conclusion that's fair to everyone, both who's victimized and some of the students who are perpetrators in it within that video. And also working towards, I think they've talked about having a forum by that time. I think those are the things that are definitely doable. I mean, on that day, they're able to have a space done by 2:30, then also open up at 7. I think the Chancellor and the administration can definitely achieve that by Wednesday at 11:59.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, I think that, again, I think that's the only option for students to feel heard. I just hope that students are also willing to work with the university and protest the university, because it definitely should be, and there are systems put in place that are debilitating. But for real progress, like, we need to have these conversations about what do we want moving forward. So I think it should be a conversation that leads to true collaboration.
And lastly, what messages do you have for the student body?
I think that it's important that we don't let this one issue be the only motivator for these changes, because, like I said before, Theta Tau is a symptom of a larger problem, and there's a lot of issues to be addressed beyond Theta Tau, and it can't be something that is forgotten about. At this time next year, it can't be something that happened a year ago. It's got to be something that's continuously on the minds of the students and students in power and the administration. It's got to be continuously addressed, or else we're going to see a repeat of this. It's going to happen again unless we continuously work to make changes on this campus and to make sure that students feel comfortable walking around campus, and make sure that families that are in different parts of the U.S. or across the globe are not always worried about their students, because they're not sure if their students are going to be targeted because of their color of their skin or their sexual orientation or their culture or their background, because that's not what Syracuse University stands for.
And are there any other messages that you would like the student body to know about what you guys are going to do, how you feel about moving forward with the Student Association?
Yeah, so I think just to say, I mean, we are going to work our hardest to kind of be the resource that we have, as I say, to connect this movement and put it into concrete goals and connect them with the channels that we have with the administration. And also trying to transition this, like we said, so it doesn't die out once it hits May 12th and everyone's gone and we're gone. Making sure that we can just transition it to other student leaders that are up and coming next year. And then at the end of the day, hopefully, I mean, I think we've definitely learned from this that as a university we can be better. And hopefully in 5 years, I'm confident we will be better because of the people who have stepped up, the amazing people we've been able to meet just in the last 96 hours or so, who are incredible people all across different walks of life, who are really stepping up and showing, you know, these are the positive aspects of the Syracuse University community, the parts we are proud of instead of the parts that we weren't so proud of on Wednesday.
Yeah, I think also to really recognize and acknowledge that everyone and a lot of people are really, really hurting, specifically groups of marginalized identities and intersectional marginalized identities. And not all of us can know what that feels like. But being there for them and those concrete goals that we were looking at, like, it's not a time for us, I mean, as Student Association, it's not a time for us to step in and be like, we know you're hurting, like, let's take this over. Like, we want to be here as a supporting kind of resource. But I mean, just kind of acknowledging the emotions that people are feeling, and really letting them feel those emotions, letting them protest and encouraging them to protest, like, how can we help you do what you want to do? And then channel those into actionable goals where they'll feel validated and they'll feel like they're not only, I guess, valued citizens of Syracuse University, but of the world. Because at the end of the day, the number of years we spend here, 4 or 5, however many, are only those 4 or 5 years, and we have the rest of our lives. Like, how can we channel this into a productive society? Because this is really hurtful. But I think there can be something good that comes of it if we work together and if we work hard and listen to each other.
Thank you so much for being here, Kyle.
Thank you.
And once again, I'm Anna Azallion here with Syracuse Student Association Vice President-elect Kyle Rosenblum. Thanks for being with us tonight.
Thanks so much, guys. Again, I'm with Student Association President James Franco, Vice President Angie Pati, and I'm Taylor Lang. Thanks so much.